950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. For Democrat of the Day today, we head up to 33A. Hanna Valento is kind enough to join us. She is running for that seat, which is up in the northeast part of the metro. Kind enough today to join us to talk about her campaign. Hi, Hanna.
Hi there.
How are you today?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I have made the comment, Hanna Valento is possibly one of the coolest names I've ever heard in my entire life. You sound like a detective in a 1947 LA noir film. My goodness. It's nice to have you on the air here. The district, we should say, and once again, this is after the new redistricting. The southern side of Forest Lake, the southern side of Forest Lake, but the town of Forest Lake, Hugo, Matamidi, a little Delwood in there, really kind of coming up right off of the 494 interstate there and going north up to Forest Lake. A nice little stretch there.
Yeah, it is.
How long? Now, I'll tell you what. Why don't we find out a little bit more about you? Who exactly is Hanna Valento?
Yeah, so I've lived in the district actually my entire life. I grew up in Hugo. Now I live in Forest Lake. I'm a licensed attorney for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe Native tribe up in Onania, and I'm also on the Forest Lake City Council.
How long have you been part of the Forest Lake City Council?
I've been part of the Forest Lake City Council since 2020.
Okay. And what prompted you? I mean, obviously, with your legal matters, obviously dealing with matters there. I mean, is that how you got interested in working in government?
Yeah, well, I've kind of always been interested in policy, and I went to law school because I wanted to help people, but I didn't really necessarily know exactly what I wanted to do because I didn't want to go into the courtroom. And so finding myself more and more interested in policy, I obviously got, my eyes went towards the legislative, but unfortunately, the state's legislative branch doesn't hire too often for internal staff. Mm-hmm. And I found a posting for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and they have a legislative branch, so I applied. But yeah, so that's what kind of got me into politics and government. Yeah. And
I tell you what, I was part of my city council. I was part of the planning and zoning committee, and you get involved in something like that. I got to tell you, that is one of the more gratifying elements of serving in politics is when you, like yourself, you're in Forest Lake, you're in your town, and you see it develop. You get issues which matter to you directly. I always thought was one of the best ways to get involved in politics on that level.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The people you meet and how you can just make a change and a direct impact to your own community is it's just the best feeling there is. And with sitting on a local government body, you also get to go into volunteer programs and go to all of the events that are put on. And it's just such a gratifying experience.
So you're in the Forest Lake City Council, and all of a sudden you got 33A opens up. What was the deciding factor that you said, you know what, I want to go to St. Paul?
Yeah, so I once 33A, once they redistricted, I looked at the map, and it truly me. Because I would just love to be a representative for the district to bring our community together.
Uh-oh.
Has divided everyone. And I just want to bring our community together regardless of political affiliations. I want to listen to everyone and just be there for everyone in the community.
And unfortunately, you did cut out there a little bit there, but also it must be nice the fact that you've lived there your entire life. It gives you a perspective that, unfortunately, I will say a lot of politicians today, they move into a district, they've only been there for a few years, they don't kind of get the grasp of the district like you have. My gosh, I mean, you know that district backwards and forwards.
Oh yeah, I've literally seen Hugo go from not having a grocery store, not having the only pizza restaurant they had was Domino's Pizza, and now it's huge. It's going in constantly, and it's just growing. It's been so cool to see all of the community in the district grow.
So if you once again, Hanna Valento is joining us, Minnesota House Race 33A, Democrat of the Day. So let's talk about some of the issues that you want to work for here. On your website here, you talk about strong workforce, local businesses, and let's tie that to what you just said. You have seen a community rise as the city has grown, more opportunity, more business. That you have the way there. The thing that's nice is that you can see how business grows there, and it gives you a pretty good perspective on how to do it correctly.
Yeah, definitely. I know local business owners in the area, and some of them are friends of mine, and some of them I've met along the way. And especially in Forest Lake, there's just so much opportunity and growth that's a potential for the area. And I just want to help business owners, especially with what happened with COVID. I want to be there for our business owners and help propel in the area and really strive and survive. And with that, I want to help our workforce and just all around create a great economy in our district.
When you talk about this, it's been interesting. We have, of course, in the last year have seen a real change within the workforce. I mean, people basically tired of the wages not keeping up, benefits not keeping up. And I mean, the issue of the day, which I think is daycare when it comes to the workforce, is the fact that so many people were tired of working a 40-hour week and then just handing a check over to someone that was watching their kids. There are some interesting elements there that need to be addressed as the workforce here is basically now saying, you know what, we need to make sure that we're getting value for what we are giving back in return.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Ever since COVID drastically changed the work environment, work-life balance, all of that. And especially with daycare. I don't have kids of my own, but I have heard from so many people the challenges and how expensive daycare is. And even just with COVID, daycares were closing down, because of people were sick, which was obviously the right thing to do. But then how are you supposed to handle going to work, but also not having childcare? It's something that we desperately need to look at.
Your district is also, it's got an interesting side here. When you get down to the southern side of it, it's on the east side of White Bear Lake. You're big on a sustainable environment and environmental issues. There was they have some really unique problems with that lake. I have friends that live over there. I've been over there and seen at times when the water levels drop so dramatically there. Talk about that a little bit, because it's as far as a district goes, there's not many districts where you can point to and say, yeah, they've got environmental issues that need to be addressed right away.
Right. Yeah. So that happened a few years ago now, but I know very vaguely what happened with the White Bear Lake is that it was underground water that was being funneled to a different portion or something along those lines, and the DNR actually ended up getting sued. And the DNR had to figure out ways to bring water back into that lake. And I remember driving past there and just seeing how low the levels were. And I was younger then. And I remember talking to people being like, what is happening? Because you could just see the drastic change. And Forest Lake, too, it's a huge lake. And I live on 10 acres and most of my property is wetlands. And I think it's one of my priorities is sustainable environment. And I just think it's something that we desperately need to look at, because we all love our lakes. We all love what Minnesota has to offer us and our natural resources. And I think in order to keep it pristine and how we want it to be for generations and generations to come, I think it's something we need to keep on the forefront of our minds.
Well, and I think that one of the things we've come to understand here, especially with Line 3 and other issues, is that you are looking, we have been blessed. We are blessed with so much water in the state and a lot of lakes and stuff, but it is an incredibly fragile system that if we don't take care of it and we don't try to preserve it, we will lose it. And as you've seen on the front lines, you can lose it fairly quickly and quite surprisingly. And you just, that is not, that is, if anything, it shows you the urgency we need to put out there to make sure all of our waterways stay safe, because once those are not safe, they don't come back.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, it's a very real danger.
One of the things too that you get with with that as well, and I think that this is interesting for this district because, and once again, when you're looking up in the Northeast Metro, these are a lot of, as you said, these are a lot of areas that were maybe not developed as other parts of the metro outside of that 494, 694 loop have been. It now is on, a lot of people moving up there. Hugo, especially Forest Lake, a lot of friends I have that have moved up to that area. They like it there. Talk about making sure the development that you have as you expand out roads and build more housing is in compliance with that, and making sure that it stays on that environmental side.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you actually bring that up, because being on the Forest Lake City Council, I'm actually a liaison to the watershed district. And oh my gosh, I've learned so much about watershed districts, what they do, how beneficial they are. They know so much. It is just unbelievable. I can't even keep up with them. But it's just something that I think not that many people know about watershed districts. And I would love to highlight them and what they do, and all the impact they can just do to our community, because they are truly the protectors of our watershed district, our wetlands, our lakes, keeping our lakes clean, making sure our wetlands stay there and are preserved, because our wetlands are really the lungs of our lakes, and we all appreciate lakes, we all enjoy lakes, we all do recreations on lakes, but with that we need to appreciate the wetlands that come with it too. So I think just really appreciating that, what our watershed districts do, especially because they're the ones that developments have to go through, and they have to make sure permits are going through to preserve our wetlands, and making sure they're in compliance with our watershed district.
Yeah, and you bring up the watershed districts. I've had a lot of experience. Minnehaha Creek, 9 Mile Creek, Shingle Creek. I mean, I was looking, the Herculean task that those guys have put forward in that watershed district to clean up Shingle Creek as much as they can, because once again, I mean, that there was this mistake that was made, that pollution just pouring in and stuff. A lot of these water areas are in growing communities, and so if you got a good watershed district, you can get the growth, but you preserve the water, which is a challenge. And these guys are very good at that. I agree with you. I'm very impressed with watershed districts.
Oh, yeah, they do so much work for our communities.
Mm. Hanna, let's talk a little bit about education, too. Once again, growing population. You talk about the early childhood education, that there's just not a lot of options out there. The DFL has been fighting very hard, and I've watched this fight for the last 10 years at basically getting that funding in there, fighting the Republicans, making sure that there are options for early children, young children, that the parents have those options on the table. Talk about continuing that fight for the DFL.
Yeah, education all around is something that we need to be looking at more so, and especially early education, just looking at statistics out there, just Googling. Most people think that Minnesota has one of the best educations all around, from early education up until universities as well. We don't. It's an unsettling fact, but it's the truth. And I think we want to be one of the best, right? Because that's what we think we are, but unfortunately we're not. So I think in order to get there, we need to put more money towards all of our education. Education is so important, and we need more counselors. We need to help our teachers. We need to just make sure we have enough bus drivers. For example, in Forest Lake, they didn't even have enough bus drivers this school year, that they were canceling some of the bus routes. How some of those kids got to school, I don't even know, because again, similar to what we were talking about with daycare, how those parents have to balance between their getting their kid to school if the kid can't drive, and their work being acceptable with changing a changing schedule with their kids. It's just all these things that we need to look at with education, and it desperately needs eyes on it.
I like your website a lot. You and your fiance, wow, cute couple. You are, that is a very nice couple. I've actually enjoyed this, because there was a guy I interviewed a few weeks back over in 4B, I think it was, out in the Northwest over around Moorhead. And he had a family picture with a little girl on there. It's like, oh my God, I'm loving this. I love when DFLers put their family pictures on there. Wow, very, very attractive couple, if I may say. Yeah,
thank you. We actually met in preschool.
Did you? That's great.
We did. Yeah, in Forest Lake.
Did he pull your hair or anything like that?
The funny thing is that I know we met in preschool because that's where my mom and his mom met. I don't actually remember him, but I have a twin brother. Him and my twin brother played hockey together in middle school, and of course I had a crush on him in middle school. But we didn't start dating until after high school.
Oh, that's a fantastic story. That is absolutely fantastic. Hanna Valento, this is 33A, once again, northeast part of the metro. And Hanna, I think we can all say this is one of those seats. I mean, there's a lot of DFL metro area seats the Republicans aren't even going to try to champion, but they're going to come after that seat, and they're going to come after you hard up in 33A, correct?
Yes, they are, most definitely. It's a more red district in the area. 33B is actually blue, but 33A leans more red. But I have the just energy, motivation. I have a team behind me, and I really think we can change this district, especially since it's an open seat currently.
And I think you can too. I think I'm very impressed with you. I think that you can definitely win that seat for the DFL. 33A now. This is not requiring you to go a long way. There's a lot of safe DFL seats. St. Paul, Minneapolis, or surrounding suburbs. Get up to 33A. Door knock. If you knock on every door in 33A, Hanna Valento will win that district. That's just key. If you knock on every door in that district, Matamidi, Forest Lake, you will win that district. Make a donation as well. Hanna, if people want to make a donation, get involved with your campaign, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can feel free to go on my website, which is hannavalento.com, and I have a donate button right there at the top. And it's through Act Blue, so it's a very easy way, a very similar way to what most people do. And I would greatly appreciate any donations. They can also send me a check, if they prefer that way, to P.O. Box 232. 5615 150th Street North, Hugo, Minnesota 55038.
And if you want to join the campaign and help out with some volunteering, and like I said, it's a great part of town. Forest Lake's got some great restaurants, got some very good restaurants down in Matamidi as well. If you want to go out there for a weekend, help out, go out and grab some food. Help out their campaign. You can register on that website as well. HannaValento.com. That's HannaValento.com. I'll link to everything a little bit later on. Hanna, an absolute pleasure. Congratulations on running, and I'm feeling pretty good. I'm hoping we're going to see you in St. Paul.
Yeah, thank you. It was great talking to you.
Hanna Valento, 33A, Democrat of the Day. Let's take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.